Hey guys! Welcome to a new bookish video. I hope you all had a wonderful New Year's and I hope all the best for you all here in 2021. I wanted to do something a little bit different today where I made a video at nighttime. I know the lighting isn't ideal and it is a bit darker than most of us would like, but it gives this sort of cozy vibe for what I want to talk about today, which is wintry reads. So I've got my candle burning, I've got my new cozy green thrifted sweater on. It is actually New Year's Eve when I recorded this, so just before I'm about to have some coffees with Zach and have a cozy night, I just thought I would quickly get on here and talk about these wintry books that I have put together that I want to just introduce to you guys in case you haven't heard of them. These will be a mix of children's, graphic novels, and adult fiction. So first up I have The Very, Very Far North by Dan Barrell. This is basically a middle grade chapter book that is lightly illustrated. You can look at the back there of all our wintry friends. And so I'll give you a look here. Missions. So this book follows our main character, Duan, who is a polar bear wandering up north. He's looking for where he belongs. He makes some friends with an array of animals way, way, way up north, and each day is a new adventure for them. I've heard that if you love Winnie the Pooh, then this is a really great read for you to pick up. Next up is another middle grade chapter novel. This is Astrid the Unstoppable by Maria Parr. This is one that I have mentioned on my channel before. This is translated from Norwegian. It's really reminiscent of the classic Heidi. It follows our main character Astrid, who loves skiing down the slopes and having some real authentic yummy hot chocolate. Everything changes when a new family moves to town though for her. This is a very cute, heartwarming, almost coming of age story that is all set in wintertime. So next up is The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivy. Yes, the author's name is Eowyn. I think that's so fun. I've never heard of an actual person besides the Lord of the Rings character Eowyn just existing. I love the name Eowyn, so I think this is so cool. So this is a spooky sort of dark adult fiction set in the 1920s in Alaska. This follows Jack and Mabel. They are a married couple who are homesteading in the wintertime. It is very difficult for them in this time period, and they're drifting apart due to the strains and disappointments of being childless. One day they build a child out of snow. But the next day, Snow Child is gone and they see a young girl running through the woods. This young girl, whose name is Faina, can be seen running through the woods with her best fox friend, and she survives alone in the Alaskan wilderness. So this couple begins to love Faina as their own. They count her as like a miracle or something out of a fairy tale, but some dark aspects about Faina start to come forward, and you'll have to read it to find out what. I'm back, guys, and as you can tell, it is a later day at a later time of day. It's no longer nighttime. I actually dropped my camera in the middle of recording where I left off, and so I paused the video, of course, to evaluate any damages. I don't think there are any, although I was a little concerned about my lens. I'm still not 100% sure, but so far it seems okay. I'm such an idiot. So that was a fun start to 2021 for me. So I'm gonna just continue on talking about the rest of the books I had on this list for winter reads. This probably feels like a really weird spot in the middle of the video to be like starting, but I'm just trying to leave off, so we're just gonna continue with the list here. So I've got Cabin Porn, which is called Inspiration for Your Quiet Place Somewhere. So this is a non-fiction read. It just features different cabins. So like I said, not a winter specific read, although I always associate cabins with like cozy winter time. I love to just flip through this while I watch off the grid videos on YouTube. And then on the back it says rural escapes for those yearning for a simpler existence. So I love to spend hours upon hours watching YouTube videos of people in different places, usually up north, who are just aiming for a simple and sustainable lifestyle, and so I just find just flipping through this makes for a really nice afternoon. Some pages have tons of text and some pages do not. So there's different chapters about different types of cabins here, and then it'll have practices that people have inside too, like what types of canning they might do or what sort of hobbies they might do inside. So it's split up into different types. So it's split up into like tree houses and archive, purpose-built, even greenhouses and modern and stuff like that. Most people have built their own cabins in here, and then they've built them for a specific purpose. So they want to live somewhere really isolated, they want to raise sheep, they want to do something out there. And so it's just really fun to just look at all the beautiful cabins that you can live in. So next up, I've got Winter House by Ben Gutterson, and so this is a middle grade fantasy novel. It follows our main character, Elizabeth Summers. Now, Elizabeth is sent off by her unkind aunt to live or stay, I guess, at the ominous Winter House Hotel. When Elizabeth arrives, she discovers that the hotel has many charms, most of all its massive library. As Elizabeth explores the library, she falls upon secrets and how she might be tied to the family that owns the hotel and the hotel itself in some really strange and creepy ways. So this involves, like I said, a magical library. It involves a magical book full of all kinds of puzzles that she must solve. It just sounds like it's a lot of fun with full of adventure. So next up, I've got Wolfwinter by Cecilia Ekbak. This is a historical adult fiction thriller novel set in Sweden in 1717. It follows our main character Maya and her little family as they move to Sweden to escape a past full of trauma that was back in their home in Finland. Near Maya's family, there looms a great mountain called Blackason, and Maya feels a weird connection to it. This great mountain's dark history haunts the lives of all the people that live near Maya. One day, Maya stumbles upon a mutilated body of a neighbor. All of the townspeople think that this death was done by a wolf or a wild animal, but Maya herself feels strongly that it was a murder. So Maya takes it upon herself to investigate the murder, and as she does so, she discovers the really dark and creepy past that involves Blackason the mountain and the townspeople around her. This sounds perfect for me because I love historical fiction and I've been binging so many Swedish countryside videos, although it does sound actually really creepy and I'm always scared that there's a murderer about to come into my house in the middle of the night. So I mean, I don't know, I haven't read this one, but it stuck out to me as a particularly suspenseful winter read. So next up, I've got The Flower of the Witch by Enrico Orlandi. So I have mentioned this graphic novel before on my channel and on my Bookstagram. This is a coming-of-age fantasy juvenile graphic novel that follows our main character, Tammy. Tammy is 12 years old and he's been sent up north, exiled from his home until he can prove himself a man. And so he thinks the way to do this is to retrieve the fabled Flower of the Witch. On his treacherous journey up north, he ends up being taken in by this village family, and then Tammy is forced to choose between the family and continuing on with his quest to retrieve the Flower of the Witch and earn his way back home. So this graphic novel is perfect if you love fantasy, if you want a good, solid, quick, wintry read, or you need a really heartwarming coming-of-age friendship story. This book reminds me so much of Jon Snow from A Song of Ice and Fire, which might be particularly why I feel connected to it, but it's just a really nice, quick, wintry read, and I really encourage you guys to pick it up. So next up, I've got A Wild Winter Swan by Gregory Maguire, and so this is an adult coming-of-age story that involves, that explores themes of isolation, family, and class. This follows our main character, Laura, who lives in 1960s Manhattan. Laura is being threatened to be sent to Montreal to a boarding school for behaving in a way that is unbecoming for young ladies. One day, a curious boy with a wing for his left arm appears on her roof, and then Laura has to take it upon herself to help find the boy home until her family discovers that he is there, which she is afraid would result in even more unwelcome circumstances for her. But this task proves more difficult than she thought, as she must forge an alliance with new people and potential friends in order to get to the strange swan boy home. I know that this novel heavily features magical realism elements, and so this might just be a fun, interesting, and unique story. Next up, I've got Cody by Jared Cullum. This follows our main character, Katya, as she goes on a summer vacation with her Mima up in Alaska in their summer cottage. Katya makes friends with a great big Kodiak bear named Cody, who has a very warm heart and a great knack for fishing, like all good bears should. But then at the end of the summer, Katya is called home to Seattle and they are separated, and Cody has to find a way to get back his vulnerable little friend. This sounds like a breathtaking and beautiful story that really heavily explores the treasure that is friendship. And I know that the illustrations are really unique and colorful and beautiful. They really take on a watercolor sort of art style, which is quite unique for these types of graphic novels. Next up, I have The Dollmaker of Krakow by R.M. Romero, and so this follows our main character, Carolina, who is a doll and she lives in the land of dolls. This is a story that is really reminiscent of The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas mixed with aspects of fairy tales and folklore. This is a sort of middle grade historical fiction fantasy novel. The story is set in World War II and it really encaptures the ability to find goodness and light in the darkest of times. Basically, Carolina is sent away from the land of the dolls when the king and queen are overthrown. She is like whisked away into the human world. She finds herself in the home of a doll maker who is a very reserved and quiet man. Soon she's able to make him smile as they forge a new friendship. Then a father and his young daughter wander into the dollmaker's store one day, and Carolina and the dollmaker are able to form a really beautiful bond with this father and daughter. However, when Nazi soldiers invade Poland, Carolina and the dollmaker must find a way that they can help their new friend. This story will make you sob and feel cozy and feel just a whirlwind of all types of different emotions. It is a level darker than you'll find in a lot of middle grade fantasy, but it's also just a whole new level of beautiful. It's in a way that it's set during such a cold and dark time, but all the aspects of it just make you feel so warm inside. So next up, I've got The Toy Makers by Robert Dinsdale. I have mentioned this on my channel before, so this is really reminiscent of like The Miniaturist or The Night Circus. I also personally connect it with Mr. Megorium's Magic Emporium, if you are familiar with that story. This also gives me like a vibe that's similar to The Dollmaker of Krakow as well. So this is set in the dark days of the Great War as it rains through Europe. There is a place of hope and enchantment in the heart of London. The magical toy emporium that sells magical toys, boxes that have endless depths, and toy soldiers that are able to fight their battles on their own. One day, a young girl, Kathy Ray, wanders into the toy emporium, and when she gets there, she realizes that the toy store is more than she thought, and that it is full of secrets of its own. So this is an adult's, like most of these adults, fantasy historical fiction novel. And then I've got Witchwood by Tahira Mafi, which is a companion novel to Furthermore by Tahira Mafi. This is one of my favorite books ever. You don't need to read Furthermore to read Witchwood. However, it does add a deeper aspect to it because there are familiar characters that come into Witchwood, and also Furthermore is just as magical and beautiful, if not more. So I encourage you to pick it up too. Just read all of them. These books have a whole new level of beautiful and lyrical writing, and the characters are just so special. I adore these books. So this follows our main character Laylee and begins on a very frosty and cold night. Laylee is the last morsure of her village, and so she spends her time scrubbing dead bodies and preparing these souls to depart into the afterlife. The reason she's left as the last morsure is that her mother passes away and her father disappears in his grief. She's all by herself. She works so hard to forget her loneliness and also to forget the way her hands are turning silver to match her silver hair. Soon, a familiar pair of strangers turn up and they are willing to do anything to help Laylee. In their new quest, Laylee is able to discover aspects of magic, friendship, and happiness that she wasn't able to find on her own. Last but not least, we cannot forget Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, which is a wintry and wonderful classic. This book starts off at Christmas time, although it explores all the seasons throughout the year and the beauty and goodness to be found in each season. This is my new favorite classic. I find it just so good, and if it puts you off by how big it is, or if you don't typically read classics, it is such an easy and pleasant, just smooth classic, like so easy to just fall into. You don't have to like be confused by really intricate descriptions or like outdated terms and things like that. I mean, it is set in a different time period, so it is a different time period and it is different, but it's just so easy and so good. I can't get over the way that Louisa May Alcott just describes the delicate and beautiful ways that the little things are really what bring the most light into our lives, and the ways that things like duty and love and friendship and home and hearth is just brings so much into your life. I really adore this book, and I think, like most people, I would suggest you read it in the winter time to really give you that warmth, and the way she describes winter and Christmas time is just a really phenomenal way as well. Okay guys, so that's it. Those are all the wintry books I wanted to talk about. Please comment down below if you've got any wintry reads or if you've read any of these books here. I've read some of them and others I have not read, so I just put together all the books that I had sitting on my book cart that would fit a sort of wintry theme. Now that Christmas is over and we're just in the depths and darkness of winter time, I find that the best way to fight off the winter gloomies and the winter sleepies is to just pick up a really cozy book. So subscribe if you'd like some more bookish content and other random, thrifty, outdoors, random things. I'm here for you. Take care. Bye.